It's finally been revealed the new Horizon live service game named Horizon Steel Frontiers is an open-world live service MMORPG set in a world inspired by Arizona and New Mexico. This game is described as a Monster Hunter game, which is to be expected since this is the entire selling point of the Horizon franchise. Now, I wanted to take a look at some of the parts recently released, showcasing a few elements that made me both skeptical and hopeful for this release. Now I do have the video pulled up and I'll just quickly switch to that page and I'll hit play and tell you my initial thoughts. My initial thoughts are that the graphics are looking quite great. There is a high degree of fidelity as well as dense forest, great looking landscapes. There is a nice animations in the animals in this world. There is a quite interesting atmosphere, similar to that of the Horizon games. The obvious choice of comparison is, of course, the Monster Hunter games. This behemoth of a franchise is the one competitor, in my opinion, that Horizon Steel Frontiers has to overcome. Add delivering a good product to even be considered profitable or successful, it has to draw in a lot of players. There's a lot of attention on this game as of this moment. I'm seeing a lot of similarities between Horizon Steel Frontiers and Monster Hunter. Obviously, the fact that you hunt monsters, but also from the way that you are able to traverse these landscapes. There is a obvious hint or pretty obvious indication that you can traverse this game in a few different ways, utilizing robots or monsters that you hunt down. But I'm also seeing similarities in the way that Monster Hunter has handled this with the recent Monster Hunter Wilds, as well as the game released on Nintendo Switch, the Monster Hunter Sunbreak, I believe it's called, with the way that you ride your companion dog, I believe it was, but also in terms of Monster Hunter Wilds, where you use the raptor to ride. Now, another thing I want to talk about is a specific section during this trailer. They talk about unique things that they have added in this game that could set it apart from other Monster Hunter games. And I'll quickly play the part and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. Now, another thing I want to comment on is actually the very comment they make in the video showcasing a few different gameplay elements. They talk about some new unique abilities or things they've added in the game to sort of set it apart from other similar games in the Monster Hunter genre. I do want to showcase this video that I have pulled up right now where they talk about a unique feature they've added. As we can see here, there is a grappling hook that they utilize. And what's interesting for me is that this isn't really that novel of a mechanic. Now, there is another part to this, but I do want to go over this first because the grappling hook isn't new, especially if you compare it to the Monster Hunter games. And I believe in Monster Hunter Worlds, they introduced or really expanded upon the grappling hook. They made it more of a viable or tactical option where you can hook on to these monsters and sort of control or change their direction of them. You can control and sort of blast them into these obstacles or walls to knock them down, as well as do a brief moment of damage to them in a uninterrupted way. Now for this next part, especially this where you inflict status effects, they also say that you can during battle you can pick up these weapons and carry them for later fights. Now, this is a much more unique mechanic in my opinion because I don't believe you can do that in the Monster Hunter games. I believe you're tied to the weapon or two weapons that you have the option to pick in Wilds. And with Horizon Steel Frontiers, they are adding monster weapons instead that you get directly from them instead of using materials to craft these weapons that you would later use. Now, this is probably the unique mechanic they talk about, and I do want to say it does look rather interesting to have the ability to pick up parts of a monster you just hunted and use it in other areas as well. I could see this being utilized in creative ways depending on what weapons you pick up prior, and I wonder what kind of effects and maybe even statuses you can get from these weapons. Another thing I want to comment on in this video is the fact that they show a cooking mechanic. While the cooking mechanic is pretty essential in my opinion in Monster Hunter games. In this particular case, it sort of comes off as just a straight up copy. Now, what I mean by that is I'll quickly show you. I have it pulled up here and I'll press play on it. There is a little sequence of cooking that they show. It looks fine, but in my opinion, it just sort of comes off as a knockoff version of the Monster Hunter way of dealing with this cooking. And what I mean by that is in the Monster Hunter games, you have a companion or a palico, I believe it's called, where they do the cooking for you. And in this case, it's just humans that do it. I know that this cooking aspect is also meant to be a sort of comedic relief kind of way, but in this case, it just sort of comes off as really uncanny and very odd in the way that these humans cook. Because with the Paligos, it's animated, it's cartoony, it's much easier to do these comedic bits. But with humans doing all these different animations, and it's just very weird to look at. It's just very uncanny to me. And speaking of uncanny, there's actually some tidbits where the character interacts with another character, where this is the main character and this is just an NPC. But what's rather interesting to me is the expressions that this character with the earpieces have. It's just very emotionless and bland. Now, I don't know how far this game is into its development, and I'm hoping there is still enough time for them to polish up these animations, because looking at this character, it sort of reminds me of that one bit in Mass Effect Andromeda, I believe it was, the meme about my face is tired. And I'll show you a clip if I can find it right here.
Sorry, my face is tired.
But in that moment, it's kind of sad to see like the neglect in facial animations, because it's sort of a way for people to dive into this world and immerse themselves into it. But if this is the level of animation quality in terms of facial animations, it's not really a selling point to me. Now, another thing I want to add is that with Monster Hunter and their recent release of Monster Hunter Wilds, it has become a bit easier to compete in this genre, because Monster Hunter Wilds has been under heavy criticism, and in my opinion still is to this day, months after its release. The player base is still complaining about poor optimization, which is crucial to have in games where especially the timing of your inputs is vital. Now, I've pulled up the Steam page for Monster Hunter Wilds, and at the moment of recording this, the 13th of November, this game is currently sitting at a mostly negative in its recent reviews, but a mixed in its reviews in my language. If we scroll down, there is a lot of different reviews here. Like, people have played a decent chunk of it. We're seeing one with 90 hours, we're seeing one with 100 and almost 50 hours. But as we can see here, the biggest issue they have is the game's performance. And it's been 8 months when he wrote this, almost 3 weeks ago. It's sad to see such a big developer for the Monster Hunter franchise not really giving much care into the optimization of it, and just letting the AI upscaling and AI optimization built into these newer graphic cards and let them handle it instead of doing their own optimization. Because as of this moment, the gaming population is very much requiring, or in this case actually demanding, that people, especially the developers, optimize their game so many more people can get to experience it. And this is pretty obvious a way for them to save money, relying on the hardware that only some gamers have because of price hikes, shortages, or scalpers becomes increasingly frustrating when it's clearly shown that game developers are capable of doing this. Looking at other game studios like Warhorse Studios with their critically acclaimed Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which released earlier this year, they managed as a studio of 240 people as of 2024 to optimize their game so it was even capable of running on a stable 60 FPS while Monster Hunter Wilds wasn't even capable of reaching that high consistently. Now, with that being said, Horizon Steel Frontiers is looking to be quite an interesting game. I do hope they manage to pull off this game, since it is kind of a deviation from the standard Horizon formula that they have been going for before. And I do believe this is a collaboration between Guerrilla Games, the original developers of Horizon franchise, as well as NC Soft, I believe. So I'm hoping that they can manage to pull it off, because there is a lot of competition in this space, and I'm excited to see more competition from it. And as I said before, there's stuff I hope they smooth out and change a bit, especially the facial animations. If this is gonna be perhaps a game where you interact with the characters a lot. Now, the game does look very polished in terms of its landscapes and its overall atmosphere. So I definitely think that it's going to be a strong competitor for it. I'm interested to see where this is gonna go and what kind of new things they might show off until its release at some point in 2026 is my guess. And that's all I have to say on this game at the moment. I do hope that you enjoyed this quick overview of the trailer that they showed, and consider subscribing and tell me what you think about this video, this game. If there's anything that you worry about, if it's going to be a microtransaction hell, because it is very likely that this is going to have some sort of microtransaction. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.